I want to tell you a story. A story about a man who failed at almost everything he tried for 65 years. A man who lost his father as a little boy, dropped out of school, was fired from dozens of jobs, and watched his wife walk out the door and take his children with her. A man who, at the age of 65, was broke, alone, and living on a small government check of $105 a month. And then he took a chicken recipe and turned it into one of the most recognized brands on earth. His name is Colonel Harland Sanders, and his story will change how you think about age, about failure, and about when it is too late to start. Chapter 1: A Boy Who Had to Grow Up Fast. Harland David Sanders was born on September 9, 1890, in Henryville, Indiana. His family was poor. His father worked as a farmer. Life was simple but stable. Then, when Harland was only 5 years old, his father died. Everything changed. His mother had to go to work in a canning factory. She left early in the morning and came home late. There was nobody to take care of Harland and his younger brother and sister. So Harland, at 5 years old, became the family cook. He learned to make bread. He learned to cook vegetables. By the age of 7, he was cooking full meals for his family. He did not complain. He did not ask why. He just did what needed to be done. And this is the first lesson. Sometimes life forces you to grow up before you are ready, but the skills you build during hard times are the same skills that will carry you later. Harland did not know it yet, but learning to cook at 5 years old was the beginning of everything. Chapter 2: A Life of Dead Ends. Sanders left school after the 6th grade. He was 12 years old. He went to work on a nearby farm. Over the next several decades, he tried almost every job you can imagine. He worked as a farmhand. He was a streetcar conductor. He joined the Army at 16 by lying about his age. He worked as a railroad fireman, shoveling coal into train engines. He studied law by mail and practiced as a lawyer for a while, until he got into a fistfight with his own client in the courtroom and lost his career. He sold tires. He sold insurance. He was fired again and again. He ran a ferry boat company that failed. He ran a lamp manufacturing business that failed. He tried to sell his chicken recipe to restaurants, and nobody wanted it. His marriage fell apart. His wife took the children and left. He was alone. By any normal definition, Harland Sanders was a failure. 40 years of working, and he had nothing to show for it. And this is the second lesson. A long list of failures does not mean you were a failure. It means you have not found your moment yet. Every dead end is just a direction that did not work. It is not the end of the road. The road continues. Chapter 3: The Gas Station Kitchen. In 1930, when Sanders was 40 years old, he was running a small gas station in Corbin, Kentucky. The station was on a busy road, and travelers would stop for fuel. Sanders noticed that many of them were hungry, and there was no restaurant nearby. So he did what he knew how to do. He cooked. He set up a small table in the gas station and started serving meals to travelers. He made fried chicken using a recipe he had been perfecting since he was a boy. He used a special blend of 11 herbs and spices. He cooked it in a way that made the chicken tender, juicy, and full of flavor. Word spread. People started coming to the gas station not for gas, but for the chicken. His little dining room grew. He moved to a larger location across the street. He opened a restaurant that could seat 142 people. The governor of Kentucky was so impressed that he gave Sanders the honorary title of Kentucky Colonel. For the first time in his life, things were working. And this is the third lesson. Sometimes your greatest skill is something you have been doing so long that you do not even see it as special. Sanders had been cooking since he was 5. It was as natural to him as breathing, but it was extraordinary. Do not ignore what comes naturally to you. That might be your gift. Chapter 4. Everything Falls Apart Again. Just when Sanders thought he had finally built something lasting, the world took it away. In the early 1950s, the state of Kentucky built a new interstate highway. The new road bypassed the town of Corbin completely. Travelers no longer drove past his restaurant. Almost overnight, his customer traffic disappeared. Sanders tried to keep the restaurant alive, but it was no use. He was forced to close the business. He sold everything he had just to pay his debts. He auctioned off his equipment. He auctioned off his furniture. He was 65 years old. He had no savings. He had no business. He had nothing left except a monthly Social Security check for $105. Most people at 65 are retiring. Sanders was starting over from zero. And this is the fourth lesson. You can do everything right and still lose. That does not mean you did something wrong. It means life is unpredictable. The question is never whether you will fall. The question is always what you will do after you fall. Chapter 5. 1,000 Doors Slammed Shut. Sanders had one thing left, his chicken recipe. Those 11 herbs and spices, that perfect cooking technique. And he had an idea. He would drive from restaurant to restaurant across America and offer to teach him his recipe. In return, he would receive a small payment for every piece of chicken they sold. He loaded his car with a pressure cooker and bags of spice mix. He put on a white suit, and he started driving. He walked into restaurants and cooked his chicken for the owners. He asked them to taste it. He asked them to partner with him. They said no. He went to the next restaurant. They said no. He went to another. No. Another. No. Sanders was rejected 1,009 times. 1,009 restaurants said no to his chicken recipe before a single one said yes. Think about that. 1,009 rejections. And he was not a young man with endless energy. He was in his late 60s, sleeping in his car, driving hundreds of miles a day, cooking chicken for strangers who kept telling him no. But he did not stop. And this is the fifth lesson. Most people quit after 10 rejections. Some quit after 100. Sanders kept going after 1,000. The difference between people who succeed and people who do not is almost never talent. It is almost always endurance. Can you survive one more no? Chapter 6. Kentucky Fried Chicken. The first person to say yes was a restaurant owner named Pete Harmon in Salt Lake City, Utah. Harmon tried the chicken and immediately understood what Sanders had. Together, they opened the first Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise in 1952. The idea worked. Customers loved the chicken. Harmon's sales increased dramatically. Other restaurant owners started to notice. Sanders kept driving, kept cooking, kept knocking on doors. But now he had proof. He had a success story to point to. Slowly, more restaurants signed on. Then more, then more. By the early 1960s, Kentucky Fried Chicken had over 600 franchise locations across the United States and Canada. The man who had been broke at 65 was now running one of the fastest-growing restaurant chains in the country. In 1964, at the age of 73, Sanders sold the Kentucky Fried Chicken Corporation for $2 million, which is equal to about $20 million today. He stayed on as the company's spokesman, becoming one of the most recognizable faces in advertising. And this is the sixth lesson. You only need one yes. It does not matter if 1,000 people say no. It does not matter if 10,000 people say no. All it takes is one person who sees what you see, one door that opens, one moment when everything clicks. Keep knocking. Chapter 7. A Legacy Beyond Chicken. Even after selling the company, Sanders did not sit back and enjoy retirement. He continued to travel, promote the brand, and visit KFC restaurants around the world. He wore his famous white suit and black string tie everywhere he went. He became a living symbol of perseverance. But what many people do not know is that Sanders gave away much of his money. He donated to hospitals, to children's charities, and to organizations that helped people in need. He remembered what it felt like to have nothing, and he wanted to make sure others did not have to feel that way. He once said, "I made a lot of money, but it is not about the money. It is about knowing that I did not quit." Today, KFC operates in over 150 countries. There are more than 27,000 KFC restaurants worldwide. Every single one of them traces back to one man, a 65-year-old who refused to believe that his life was over. Colonel Harland Sanders passed away on December 16, 1980, at the age of 90. He spent his final years knowing that he had built something that would outlast him. And this is the seventh lesson. A legacy is not about how much money you make. It is about how many lives you touch. Sanders fed billions of people around the world. He showed millions of people that it is never too late. That is a legacy worth building. Chapter 8. Why this story matters to you. So why does this story matter to you? Because somewhere inside you there is a voice that says it is too late. Maybe you feel too old. Maybe you feel like you have wasted too many years. Maybe you look at your life and see a long list of things that did not work out, and you wonder if anything ever will. Let me ask you something. How old are you right now? Are you 20, 30, 40, 50? Sanders was 65. He had nothing, and he built an empire. Whatever age you are right now, you have more time than Sanders had when he started. You have more resources. You have more tools. The only question is whether you will use them. Have you ever had an idea that you kept putting off because you thought the timing was not right? Have you ever told yourself you would start next year, next month, next week? Here's the truth. There is no perfect time. The perfect time is when you decide to begin. So what can you do right now? First, stop counting your failures. Start counting your attempts. Sanders did not have 1,009 failures. He had 1,009 attempts. Each one brought him closer to the one that worked. Second, stop using your age as an excuse. Age is not a wall, it is a number. Sanders proved that your best chapter can come at any point in your life, even the last quarter. Third, take your recipe to the world. You have something, a skill, an idea, a talent. Stop keeping it to yourself. Put it in your car, drive to the next door, and knock. What is your recipe? What is the thing you have been perfecting your whole life without even realizing it? Go share it. Colonel Harland Sanders spent 65 years searching for his purpose. He failed as a farmer, a soldier, a lawyer, a salesman, and a business owner. He lost his family, he lost his money, he lost everything. But he never lost his recipe, and he never lost his belief that it was worth sharing. At an age when most people stopped trying, he started. At a time when most people accept their circumstances, he refused. And with nothing but a pressure cooker, a bag of spices, and a white suit, he changed the world. You do not need to be young. You do not need to be rich. You do not need to have everything figured out. You just need one thing you believe in and the courage to keep going when the world says no. It does not matter how many times you have failed. It does not matter how old you are. It does not matter what anyone else thinks. Your moment is still out there, and it is waiting for you to show up. Your story is not over. The best chapters have not been written yet. I will see you in the next video.